Beneath the veil of a foggy night, an eerie clanging echoed through the cobblestone streets. A silhouette loomed in the mist, a medieval knight's armor glinting faintly under the dim moonlight. Scooby-Doo and the gang, drawn to the mystery surrounding the nearby museum, couldn't shake the feeling that the past was creeping into the present. Inside the museum, the dim glow of ancient artifacts illuminated Fred, Daphne, and Velma as they pieced together clues about a missing archaeologist. Meanwhile, Scooby and Shaggy had other concerns, the unmistakable sound of heavy metallic footsteps growing closer. The tension mounted as the gang realized they were not alone in the museum. As Fred examined a torn map on display, Daphne's sharp eye caught an inscription on an old plaque hinting at a hidden vault. Velma scanned through dusty documents, connecting the archaeologist's last research to a long-lost treasure. Suddenly, the heavy clang of armor resounded through the hallways. Shaggy and Scooby froze, their snacks falling to the ground as the shadow of the Black Knight stretched across the walls, closer and closer. The gang's whispers turned into urgent plans as they decided to split up to cover more ground, heightening the stakes. With a deafening crash, the knight's armored hand broke through a glass display, sending shards flying. Fred pulled Daphne behind an exhibit for cover as Velma called out, "The knight's after something." Shaggy and Scooby scrambled, narrowly dodging the metallic figure as it swung a massive sword, its blade catching a beam of light and illuminating the fear etched on their faces. They dashed into the storage room, locking the door behind them, only to find themselves surrounded by medieval relics. The air was thick with tension as they struggled to keep quiet, hearing the knight's steps outside the door. Velma pieced together the archaeologist's research notes, discovering a journal entry about a guardian of secrets. Fred decided they needed to lure the knight into the open to understand its true motive. Scooby and Shaggy, reluctantly playing bait, ventured into the main hall. Their nerves almost betrayed them, but they stumbled upon a hidden mechanism in the floor, accidentally triggering a passageway beneath the museum. The group exchanged uneasy glances before descending, their courage tested by the unknown depths. The passageway revealed a maze of stone corridors lined with torches. As the gang descended, the air grew colder, and the walls were adorned with cryptic carvings. The knight's armor clanked in the distance, echoing ominously. Daphne noticed a pattern in the carvings, leading Velma to decipher a clue about the treasure's location. Suddenly, the ground trembled as the knight appeared, blocking their only exit. The gang's determination was pushed to its limits as they faced the towering figure head-on. Fred devised a plan, using Scooby's natural knack for finding food as a distraction. Shaggy, trembling, handed Scooby a sandwich laced with hot sauce, which Scooby gleefully tossed at the knight. The fiery explosion startled the figure, giving the gang enough time to move deeper into the maze. They stumbled into a grand chamber filled with ancient artifacts, where the archaeologist's journal rested atop a pedestal. The room's grandeur and mysterious aura left them momentarily awestruck. Velma hurriedly read from the journal, which described a curse placed on the treasure to protect it from thieves. As the night loomed closer, its movements grew erratic, as though conflicted. Daphne's keen intuition led her to notice the knight's glowing eyes flicker, suggesting someone or something was controlling it remotely. Fred's deduction pointed to the museum curator as a potential suspect. The realization added urgency as they prepared to confront the truth. In a dramatic twist, the curator appeared, holding a device that controlled the knight. He admitted to staging the hauntings to keep the treasure hidden until he could claim it for himself. The gang devised a trap, luring the knight and the curator into a corner with Scooby and Shaggy's antics. Just as the knight lunged, Fred pulled a lever, activating a net that ensnared both. The curator's shocked expression was met with cheers from the gang. With the curator caught, Velma dismantled the control device, deactivating the knight. The treasure, a chest of intricate golden relics, was revealed beneath the chamber. The archaeologist, bound and hidden in a nearby alcove, was rescued. She thanked the gang and explained the treasure's historical significance, vowing to ensure it would remain safe in the museum. The group's sense of triumph was tempered by the weight of the night's events. As the gang exited the maze, dawn began to break. Shaggy sighed in relief, promising to avoid museums for a while. Scooby, licking his chops, found a leftover sandwich and danced in delight. Velma handed the archaeologist's journal to the museum authorities, ensuring the research would be preserved. But just as they were about to leave, a faint clanging sound stopped them in their tracks. Their weary expressions turned to ones of alarm as they turned back toward the source. Outside, the sun's rays illuminated the museum's facade, its imposing structure casting long shadows. Daphne commented on how the night's events had brought them closer together as a team. Fred nodded, already contemplating their next adventure. Shaggy and Scooby, however, were focused on the next snack stop, debating pizza versus burgers. The lighthearted exchange was a brief respite from the lingering sense of unease. The museum curator, escorted by authorities, glanced back with a smirk, muttering, "This isn't over." Velma, overhearing, adjusted her glasses, saying, "It rarely is." The gang laughed, their camaraderie stronger than ever. Yet, a sense of unease lingered, as though the mystery had only just begun. The curator's cryptic words echoed in their minds as they climbed into the van. As the gang's van roared to life, Velma reviewed the archaeologist's journal, noticing a cryptic entry she hadn't read before. It spoke of guardians spread across the world, each tied to a different treasure. She hesitated, debating whether to share this discovery with the group. Before she could decide, a bright light illuminated the road ahead. The gang's excitement turned to cautious curiosity as they braced for what lay ahead. The van came to an abrupt halt as a figure emerged in the light. It wasn't the knight, but something older. The gang exchanged nervous glances, realizing this was only the beginning of a far greater mystery. As Scooby exclaimed, "Raro!" the van's engine hummed, ready to carry them into the unknown. The road stretched ahead, full of promise and peril, as the gang prepared for their next adventure. A heavy mist rolled across the swampy waters as the distant cry of an unseen bird pierced the stillness. The Mystery Inc. van came to a slow stop near the dock, its bright paintwork a stark contrast to the murky surroundings. As the gang disembarked, Fred's eyes scanned their eerie surroundings. Daphne shivered from an unsettling chill, and Shaggy clutched a bag of snacks, muttering, "Man, why do we always pick the spooky spots?" Velma, holding a cryptic invitation in her hand, said, "The truth is out here. We just need to find it." They were met by Lena, a striking young woman with sharp features, who welcomed them to the mysterious Moonscar Island. As the gang walked through the wild, tangled pathways leading to the old plantation mansion, Scooby and Shaggy were the first to notice the subtle movement among the trees. Whispers of the wind carried faint, menacing sounds. Lena reassured them with a calm smile, but her piercing gaze lingered a moment too long. Upon entering the grand yet decaying Moonscar mansion, they were greeted by Simone, the poised and elegant hostess, whose refined demeanor concealed an air of mystery. The house itself seemed alive, groaning with every step, its dim chandeliers casting ghostly shadows across the cobwebbed walls. The first night unfolded with strange occurrences. Shaggy and Scooby discovered claw marks on the wooden floors while searching for the kitchen. Velma's flashlight flickered ominously as she examined centuries-old portraits whose eyes seemed to follow her. Fred, filming the interior for his investigation, caught a fleeting shadow that appeared to dissolve into the walls. Meanwhile, Daphne's attention was drawn to a locked door at the end of the hallway, its ornate design seemingly out of place in the otherwise rustic setting. The faint sound of a woman's voice singing a haunting melody drifted through the air. but no one could determine its source. The next morning, the gang explored the island's swampy outskirts. Lena led them to an overgrown cemetery, explaining the island's tragic past involving pirates and settlers. Velma took meticulous notes, her curiosity piqued by a tombstone engraved with the name Morgan Moonscar. Shaggy and Scooby, searching for snacks, stumbled upon a pile of bones that suddenly began to move. A skeletal hand emerged from the dirt, sending the duo screaming back to the group. The gang quickly realized that the island was steeped in supernatural energy. As night fell again, the mysteries deepened. Zombified figures began to rise from the earth, their hollow eyes glowing green, and their movements sluggish yet purposeful. Lena and Simone, initially appearing terrified, began to act suspiciously calm as the undead surrounded the mansion. Fred attempted to catch footage, but his camera malfunctioned at critical moments. Velma's analytical mind raced as she connected the dots between the zombies and the eerie legend surrounding Morgan Moonscar. Tensions peaked when Lena revealed a hidden altar beneath the mansion. She claimed it was a shrine to protect the island from the undead. However, Velma, ever the skeptic, noticed symbols on the altar that matched the markings on the zombies. Simone, stepping forward, unveiled the truth with chilling calmness. She and Lena were ancient witches who had been granted immortality through a dark pact, feeding on the energy of anyone who trespassed on their sacred land. A dramatic confrontation ensued as the gang found themselves trapped in the mansion with the witches and the advancing horde of zombies. Simone and Lena's powers surged, their eyes glowing as they chanted incantations that caused the walls to tremble. Fred and Daphne worked together to create a barricade, while Velma deciphered the symbols on the altar, discovering a way to break the witch's curse. Shaggy and Scooby, in a moment of unexpected bravery, distracted the witches long enough for Velma to complete her translation. The gang discovered that the zombies were not evil, but were the restless spirits of the island's victims seeking justice. Velma's revelation spurred a change in their strategy. Fred devised a plan to lure Lena and Simone to the altar, while Daphne retrieved an ancient relic believed to nullify their power. Scooby and Shaggy, despite their fear, played a crucial role by using their antics to draw the witches' attention away from the others. As the witches prepared to unleash their full power, Velma activated the relic, causing a blinding light to erupt from the altar. The zombies stopped their advance, their green eyes dimming as they turned toward Lena and Simone. With anguished screams, the witches' immortal forms began to wither, their energy returning to the spirits they had wronged. The mansion's foundations groaned as the curse unraveled, sending shockwaves through the island. The gang barely escaped as the mansion collapsed into the swamp. From a safe distance, they watched as the island seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The restless spirits ascended into the night sky, their forms dissolving into starlight. Velma held the relic close, marveling at its power, while Fred documented the aftermath for his investigation. Daphne comforted Scooby and Shaggy, who was still shaking but relieved to have survived. As dawn broke, the gang boarded their van, exhausted but victorious. Lena and Simone's betrayal weighed heavily on their minds, yet they found solace in knowing the island's spirits had been freed. Fred mused aloud about the implications of their discovery, while Velma theorized about the origins of the relic. Daphne, gazing out the window, couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. Scooby and Shaggy, ever the food enthusiasts, managed to find solace in a box of leftover sandwiches. Their laughter was contagious, breaking the tension as the gang's bond grew stronger. Fred glanced in the rearview mirror, smiling at his friend's resilience. "Another mystery solved," he said, "but something tells me the road ahead will be just as wild." Just as the gang thought the adventure was behind them, Velma's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. Her brows furrowed as she deciphered it, revealing coordinates to another mysterious location. Fred's curiosity was instantly piqued. while Daphne tried to convince him they deserved a break. Shaggy and Scooby, hearing the word location, groaned in unison, knowing what was coming next. The van's engine roared to life as Fred turned toward the new coordinates. Velma shared the message's cryptic details, her excitement matching Fred's. Daphne leaned back with a sigh, secretly intrigued, while Scooby and Shaggy rummaged through their snacks for comfort. The atmosphere in the van was electric, charged with the promise of another mystery. As they crossed the bridge leaving Moonscar Island, a shadow passed over the van. Scooby let out a nervous whimper, his ears perking up. The gang looked skyward to see a flock of birds flying in strange patterns, forming a symbol Velma recognized from the relic. "It's not over," she whispered, her voice tinged with both apprehension and anticipation. The van sped off into the horizon, carrying them toward their next adventure.